Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking out this special episode of Really Dicey. This is Manny, and I'm here with.
Andrew Peregrine, one of the developers for My Little Pony, among other things.
Yes, for Renegade Publishing, Renegade Games.
Yes, Renegade Game Studios, I think officially. Yes.
Excellent. So, very excited to talk about their line of books. I recently picked up their Transformers book,
Yes.
which is excellent. I have to do a review of that sometime in the future. Um, and I'm just curious about like all their other games. They have the Power Rangers. They have GI Joe, and now they also have My Little Pony, which is still in pre-order at this moment.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah, I think it may well be out by time of release for the podcast. I think it's been on pre-order a little while, and I think it is coming out very, very soon. So it's probably going to be in people's hands once we have this out. But if you are pre-ordering, you do get the PDF. So a lot of our customers have already seen the book now, which is really good to get something into their hands already.
Hmm. Now, viewers, most likely if you clicked on this video, you probably know what My Little Pony is. But if you're not too familiar, it's also just like the other Renegade books that came out. These is based on an 80s cartoon property. It pretty much is about, well, when I remember seeing it when I was a kid, it was pretty much about, magical ponies that had adventures. And interesting enough, just like a lot of media looks like in the 80s, it's become something now that kids and adults enjoy. So I'm very keen to see what this book offers.
Well, I have to shift you slightly further along because it's actually beyond the 80s thing. My Little Pony, as I discovered, and there are many people who will correct me on this, I'm sure. I remember it coming out in the 80s and these little My Little Pony dolls. But I believe it's quite a nice story is that the woman Lauren Faust, who was their original creator of the new season of it, she played with these My Little Ponies as a child and had her characters that she created with them. And then as she got older and became a scriptwriter and a script editor herself, she then convinced Hasbro to let her do a whole new set of cartoons based on the characters she'd created. So the ones we know from this, Twilight Sparkle, Pinkie Pie, and all, they were like her childhood My Little Ponies from the original toys, which sort of had a renaissance really from that. And it's gone on to a very complicated series of next generations and new versions and what have you. So, for those in the know, I should probably share that this book is based primarily and only on the Friendship is Magic series, which is the reasonably recent one. It's about nine seasons of about 20 episodes each, and finishing with the My Little Pony movie that was 5, 6 years ago, maybe. The usual blurring of where COVID fits in that. So that's kind of a complete. What's one thing that's quite nice about working on this book is that it's got a complete setting at the moment, and there are other things with My Little Pony, but we haven't got into those yet. So it is nice to have a complete set of source
Mm.
material to work with there. But just for the people out there going, no, no, it's not 80s or leaping forward to, to correct us on that one. Yeah, we are talking about mostly the Friendship is Magic series with the Twilight Sparkle, Pinkie Pie, and Fluttershy, and all the ones you know from that one. So,
Okay, and I assume in this game you pretty much roll up to be different ponies with different abilities. And what can you be exactly in this game?
yeah, so we've expanded things as we go a little further. So obviously, with the first book, you can play one of three pony types. So you have Earth ponies that are your ordinary sort of the Earth pony, no wings, no horns, no magic. You have unicorns who obviously have horns and are very skilled with magic. And of course, you have Pegasi who are able to fly around the place with wings and they control the weather and do all kinds of things. But you've also got, it's not a game where you go, oh, if you're an Earth pony, you're going to be boring. All of them have got special abilities and all kind of skills, things that make them all different and special in their own way. So just as like the characters in the series, there's never a balance between all the Earth ponies wishing they had wings. The one I should share is that you can't initially play an alicorn, which is a unicorn, Pegasus, Earth pony, everything type, because there's always one player that wants to play an alicorn. But if your character reaches the end of effectively their class path, they become an alicorn at the end of that. So you can, that's the thing to aspire to. And as we've continued the game, we are looking to expand all the character options. So we will have things for, changelings and dragons and griffins and all kinds of other bits and pieces. But we'll be spooning those out gradually because the focus is on ponies. That's what we wanted to play in the first books. But there will be more.
Okay.
There's a lot of world to cover. It's a deceptive setting because you approach My Little Pony thinking, oh, this is it's ponies being nice to each other. Yeah, I've got it. It's fine. And there's actually, when you get involved in it, there are a lot of complicated things. There's all manner of festivals that are important, and every time you think of a story, there's probably something that's touched on your idea somewhere that you need to check out and become a little bit more aware of. So it's a deceptive setting, but it is at its heart a very nice, straightforward, just ponies being nice to each other. And after dealing with vampires and the Imperium and Dune and things, it's just nice to do a game where ponies are nice to each other. It's and that is an awful lot of fun to work with. It's just refreshing.
Hmm. So what's interesting is that even though this is a Hasbro property, they're not using the D&D 5e D20 system. This is its own Renegade system, the Essence 20, I believe it's called.
Yeah, it's the Essence 20 system. It has some similarities to the core mechanic to it is you are rolling a d20 and you add a dice relevant to your skill. So a low skill gives you another d4, a high skill gives you another d12. You add them together and decide if you beat a difficulty number, and it's pretty much as simple as that all the way through. They've designed this as a simple system that will work for pretty much everything. And it has, if anything, there's been a mild challenge in making a game like My Little Pony, which is about socializing and being friends with people, to connect to the other three, which are very much sort of combat and action adventure type games. And Transformers, GI Joe, and Power Rangers all fit together under the same banner very, very nicely. And then My Little Pony comes in with this sort of big crowbar that goes, I need to fit too. So there have been a few challenges in that, but it's worked very well, and the system's been very adaptable to let you capture all the same things that you want to do in a pony game as you would in a Transformers game.
Equestria. Does this book have information that we could play in that setting, in that world?
Oh yes, very much so. So we've got a whole chapter on the Equestria as a broad setting, detail on Ponyville, Canterlot, Winneapolis, and all the other places beyond. There's a little bit of detail as well on people like the yaks of Afghanistan and the buffaloes and all kinds of other creatures, and of course a sort of monster manual foes detail that we start you off with. So it's very much the game, as I think with many Essence 20 books, and of course ideally any good core book in general. Once you've got the core book, that's you set up with all the things you should need. Of course, there are going to be more supplements and expansions and things, and they're going to be awesome and really add to your game. But everything you actually need is in the core book. So everything else is, just really cool stuff to add into your game when you want to expand it in a particular area.
How do you balance in a book? How does the book balances tone with the action with problem solving? Does it give you tools to help craft your game to be more My Little Pony than something more adventure-y, if that makes sense?
Yeah, well, it's mostly a case of what skills you choose to use to resolve your problems. But we have a couple of nice tweaks and fiddles to it. We have a challenge system, particularly, that breaks things down a little bit to create, rather than say, oh, I want to persuade this pony farmer to let me have some apples. That might normally just be a persuade roll. And you can do it like that if you want to sort of make it a quick roll. We just need to get the apples and move on. But if the GM wants to break that down and give lots of different people different jobs, there might be, finding out, you might be having to help him with the harvest, and that might involve one of you getting the wagons ready, one of you picking the apples, one of you, and bringing lots of different skills, and most importantly, bringing all the player characters together to work on a task together to make sure they can achieve what they want to achieve and get everything they need from the NPC or the situation they're dealing with. So it's a game and a system that really encourages teamwork and lots of different dice rolls. So everyone's bringing something different to the group. So the big strong pony is dragging the cart with the apples. The dexterous pony is flying up and picking them off the branches, and everyone has got their own thing that they're bringing. Making every pony has got a special option, really. Well, I think that's really nice and quite important to the game as well.
Hmm. And I'm assuming that this has a introductory adventure.
Yeah.
Um,
And I must say it's one that involves you helping out all of the main six. So all of the characters that you love, they all feature in the adventure. So which is always the nice buzz you can get. First adventure, you're dealing with all the great NPCs, but they're not overshadowing. It's very much something the player characters go and do, and set during the festival. But there's loads. It's quite a swift one. You could probably do it in a session or so. There's loads of story seeds and other bits and pieces throughout the book. And of course, we have got loads of other bits and pieces coming out. There is our GM screen that carries another adventure in it. We'll be doing some of our convention adventures, what I think be coming out as well. And I think we've also announced our campaign, Dark Skies over Equestria, which is a huge campaign involving changelings. So there's more than enough to keep you going if you don't quite want to make up adventures quite yet and you want to see what more you've got. There's easily enough to get you up to level 5, I think, in all the stuff we've got together, if not a little bit further already. So
oh,
that's
okay.
going.
Does this have a magic system of sorts?
Oh, more than all sorts. I think this is one of the big draws for this particular group. Obviously, you want each of the Essence 20 games brings its own, with its setting, it brings its own special aspects. So Transformers gives you all the details about being big robots and things like that. So in this one, magic is the thing that My Little Pony brings into the Essence 20 system. And again, very straightforward, very simple. It's based on a spell casting skill, and the more spells you cast, the more that drops your spell casting skill. So if you keep doing things in quick succession, you sort of run out of energy, and then you have to give it a little while to build up your skill again, and then you're off doing your spells. And again, very simple roll. If you succeed in casting the spell, it has an effect. And you move on from there. Very simple, it's very straightforward. And you gather spells and master them to create your own library of spells for your character. And yeah, and there's a load of bits. You can create your own spells, you can create new stuff. And that's obviously something we're also going to be expanding and adding more spells and systems to Magic as we go. But it's the unicorn's big thing. So we couldn't have done the game without Magic. And it was something we wanted to bring into SN20. So if your ponies want to teach your G.I. Joe characters how to do magic, it's all in the book. So ready to go.
Um, what about the artwork for this? What was the plan
Oh,
behind it exactly?
well, I came in a bit late to know entirely all the plan for this one, but I've just generally been very impressed with the artwork. There is obviously many stills that we've used from the cartoon itself, and we have a huge library from Hasbro. They've been very generous with the options for that. So there's given all the episodes, there is it's just a vast library that we have to look through to pick things. But we'd have an awful lot of original art, and I've been deeply impressed that the artists themselves. If you don't know My Little Pony, you won't know which art is new and which one isn't. The artists have fantastically captured the style of the cartoon and brought that with new characters that we've created and some of the old ones doing things. It's been amazing to see. And I think people are really going to love the art and the response. And of course, because we've got so many stills, it's a really lush book. There's art all over the pages, all over. It's not like, one piece of art every 20 pages or something. It's everywhere, and the layout is wonderful. It's colourful. It's got pink edges, the stars in places. It just opening the book gives you that wonderful feel of stepping into the animation, the cartoon again, and getting that feel of just it's lovely, it's friendship, and it's unashamedly pink in places, but not in a Barbie way, in a sort of a lovely, wonderful pony way.
Oh,
So,
excellent. Is
mm.
there anything more about this book that I haven't asked that you wanted to share?
It's I have to think about that one. And in general, I've moved on through some of the other ones now. It's a great book. It's got everything you need in it. We've been really pleased to see, very straightforward character creation. And if you're not familiar with Essence 20, it's a level-based system as well. So we've done it as well without experience points. So it's a case of once you've done a couple of adventures, the GM gives you a level when they feel you're ready for a level, basically. And we've even got our own set of characters, the Renegade Six, who are our sort of standard player characters. So if you don't want to start off doing character creation, because this has been some of the trick, there's a very wide age group into My Little Pony. You've got some little girls who are into it. You've got some, older men who are into it as well. You've got, teenagers. It covers a very broad brush. So we're trying to create a game that's going to appeal to all of them. So we have pared down some of the rules so that if you've got younger children who want to play and they just want to get it, they don't want to know about tactical movement and all kinds of bits and pieces. They just want to roll to see if their pony achieves their skill. You can do that very easily with this. But also, if you want to have if you want to mix with G.I. Joe a little bit, and I kind of do, you can, take a whole tactical pony elite squadron unit out and do a whole thing that way. So, there's a broad use system. We've got a load of advanced rules, so you don't have to master everything straight off. And we've trying to encourage people who have possibly never role played before, because I know what it's like when you see these books. You see quite a thick book, and your first thought is going to be, firstly, how do I get playing? Because that's what you want to do. And then your next question is going to be, how much of this book do I have to read and remember to get playing? So we have some details, some sidebars that show, right, if you want to just get going, you just need to read this, you just need to read this, grab those characters from the back, and off you go. So that's been very important to figure into things, how to get people just started and playing the game. And then you can come back to the rule book later and expand things and check more rules, and then go into character creation and adapt and play with things the way you want them as well, and just really develop your campaign from there. But let's start with getting into the game, getting you into Equestria.
So currently, this is out in pre-order. Do you know any more details beyond that at the moment?
I'm given where I am in the hierarchy of things, I tend to not want to say because I can never remember what Renegade have actually announced. But I would be very surprised if by time of transmission that it isn't actually already coming into people's hands. The pre-order has the PDF with it is available now. If you pre-order, you will get the PDF straight into your hands. And until we've already, I think, started opening pre-orders and the like for Dark Skies over Equestria, the GM screen as well that comes with the adventure. So I think you should easily be seeing it by Gen Con, but I think even quite before. But I don't want to say a definite date just in case I'm horribly wrong or I get a call from marketing saying, "Why did you say it'll be out?" Because as we all know, even if they said to me, "Oh, it'll be out next week," then we could find that one of the, there's some ship gets stuck in the Suez Canal, and then people could be saying, "You said I'd have it next week." But no, it is very, very soon. It's been on there for a little while. People have been waiting for it, and hopefully they will not have to wait too long at all.
You sort of hinted there might be some more source books coming out for this. Anything you want to share for those that have already pre-ordered and want to hear some more tidbits?
Well, I can tell you once we've announced already, as I mentioned before, we've got, and I should say the game itself comes with a limited edition as well, which is, as you'd expect, it is pink with glittery sparkles all over it. It is awesome. It's just a fantastic piece of work. You just look at it and go, that is a My Little Pony Collector Edition. But of course, we've also got GM Screen is our next thing that's coming out, and that shouldn't be very, very far behind it. That comes, I think, with the adventure in a jam, I believe. So that's another adventure to keep you going. But the screen is great. It's got a wonderful gatefold of the main six. And I think we've got, if you check out the Renegade channel, I think one of our marketing people has got, because she's really into it as well. She's loving My Little Pony. And she's been showing off some of the screen and things because we've got some print preview things that come through. So do have a look at some of the Renegade channels and you can get a look at some of these pre-done things. And of course, the next thing they announced at the Renegade Con, only I think last week, is our first full supplement, which is Dark Skies over Equestria. And that is a whole campaign with you facing the changelings, which if you know from the series, they're sort of group of terrifying, scary pony creatures who can turn into all kinds of different shapes and forms, and of course they infiltrate, and there's paranoia and. But we've got some weird adventures of film noirs and portals and strange inventions and facing off against the Changeling Queen. There's a lot of really awesome, excellent things in there, and we've really built it as a campaign that you can play. If you want to just play the individual adventures, you can just break it down and run it like that, do it whatever order you like. But if you want to play it as a campaign, it definitely builds up into a whole climax where you're defending Equestria and Canterlot, and from the horrors of the Changeling Queen, but of course in a My Little Pony way, which is quite often it's not about just punching the bad guy, and this is the thing I love most about Pony and how it works as a role-playing game. It is about usually finding why the bad guy is upset and why they're doing bad things. Maybe it's because they didn't have any friends. Maybe it's because they're feeling lonely. Maybe it's because people bullied them and they think this is the only way to deal with other people. And you usually share with them the power of friendship in some way, and say, we'll help you out. We'll forgive you. And that's the way that turns them around. And it's always wonderful to see a game where you do that rather than just punch them at the end. It's about finding not their weakness, but a way to get to them, to find their heart. It's looking for the heart of the game. And that's always a lot more entertaining and I think a lot more challenging. It's a lot easier to just wade in, roll your sleeves up and punch something till it falls over. It's a lot harder to try and figure out how you can help someone when they're trying to do evil, horrible, bad things, and find that way for your characters to forgive them as well. So it sort of teaches you to be a better person, which is really sweet. And you don't expect that when you're seeing, oh yeah, it's a game about ponies who are nice to each other. Yeah, that's fine. There's a lot more to it. I think that, and I think a lot of things that we don't see in role playing a lot. And I think a lot of that comes from it being, an unashamedly female centric game. This is a setting that was made primarily originally for little girls, and it's nice to see a game where you go, no, it's okay, the boys can play too, rather than usually it's the other way around. And it's I think it's really good and refreshing to see a setting based on that, and I hope we'll see more. Certainly, if any of the women writers who've been with me on the project, I think they have more than enough ideas to do that anyway. But they were also excited to work on My Little Pony as well, because they remember it from their childhood as well and enjoying it. And it's great to see that coming about.
Mm. That's awesome. That not only does the game fit the tone of the series, which I think that's really important for any role playing game that's based on an IP of some sort, or a brand of some sort. But I like that especially I enjoy actiony, punch and kick adventures, but it's good to have like a game that's alternative. Is like, hey, let's instead of like punching each other in the face all the time, how about we just kind of talk it out and
exactly.
figure out.
But I have to say as well, having watched some of it, there are plenty of times when the ponies do actually punch their way out of things. There is some fighting, there is some action going on, but but mostly it's often you're racing against each other, you're doing exciting things and supporting each other. And sometimes you fall out with rivalries among your friends, but you stay friends in the end, and you all learn a lesson about how you can be better people at the end of it. The challenges can come from any place, antagonists, even people in your own your own player group as well, but not in a bad way. All right, they're the baddie now. You can have rivalries and still be the goodie, which is always fun. And people learn that other people go, oh, we're frustrated with you for escalating this rivalry, and then all the players can get together to try and heal the wounds and settle the rift between the players.
Right, excellent. Well, that's a great note to end on. My Little Pony, the role-playing game, right now it's on pre-order, and I'll put a link in the description below. Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about this book.
Always a pleasure.
To everyone out there, be safe. We'll see you next time.